We got plenty of guns around. Welcome. Welcome to the boom town. How'd that start? Little Christina drives a 944. Satisfaction oozes from the floors. She's got rings on her fingers, marble on the door. La-dee-dee-dum, la-dee-dee-da-dee-dum. Hey, Boozhoo. Boozhoo, Brandy Marie. Brandy Marie's here, sweetie. Boozhoo, Brandy. How are you this morning? And to anybody else watching, welcome to Boozhoo Nanaboozhoo, the podcast about Ojibwe language and Ojibwe language. What was the other thing? And culture. Oh yeah, and culture. We're a podcast that goes in deep in the language and the life ways of the Anishinaabe. And, Boozhoo, Jessica. Jessica's here, sweetie. Boozhoo, Jessica. Little Christina drives a 944. Satisfaction oozes da-da-da-da-dum. So how are you this morning, sweetie? Oh, I'm doing great. I woke up and just in a happy mood. Oh, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. Me, I can never be that happy. How come? Oh, because I always got to fight racism. I'm always trying to rid the world of racist ideas. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. Yeah, huh? So today I thought we would talk about Indian mascots and, how harmful that is to our people. You think it's harmful? Oh, yeah. To be stereotyped, there's nothing more oppressive than to be stereotyped. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. Going to talk about the Land O'Lakes woman. And a big miigwech to the fine people at the Land O'Lakes Corporation. After hundreds of years, they finally realized that that cute little girl was hurting us. You really think that was hurting us? No. But, and so I don't know. So yeah, I can't be that happy ever. I have to fight the good fight. Are you guys with me? There's so much racism in the world. It's so hard just to get by when you're an Anishinaabe. So today's Ojibwe word of the day. I want to talk about one of the most damaging things to our people. And no, I don't mean losing the language. I don't mean losing our ways. And I'm not talking even about the breakup of the family unit. I'm talking about, of course, the term. Okay, that was a big build-up for nothing. Otomahawk. Otomahawk is where the word tomahawk comes from, to cut down. Otomahawk. And I bring this up because 2020 has been the year of a lot of these sports teams to change their evil ways, to change their mascot names. And I, for one, want to say miigwech. I can finally, like that guy Van Jones, I can talk to my children and give them hope about living in a country. I cry, over racism or something. So the tomahawk chop, people get all bent out of shape over the tomahawk chop. They go, oh, that's racist. Because it's a stereotype. And we have to do something. The Atlanta Braves. I think they're a baseball team. Bunch of racists. And so the term Braves. Aqua de a win. Aqua de a win. To have courage. To be a brave. It is a stereotype. Not all Native Americans are brave. Have you ever been to Indian Health Service dental clinic? There's a lot of cowardly people there. You have to go see the dentist and they're all nervous. Yeah. Well, where's your aqua de a win? You know? And so the tomahawk, was used. I'm just kind of being silly, you guys. I really don't care about this stuff. But this is a tomahawk. And I guess the thing that bothers me about the tomahawk chop, it doesn't matter at all. When I was looking for pictures, the first pictures that came up of the Atlanta Braves tomahawk chop showed these two adorable little white girls in red and white makeup, not war paint, but just their faces painted up, and it said number 1 on their little cheeks. And they're like, I don't know if they're doing a tomahawk chop or not, but they're watching the game. And you want to go, hey, you dirty racists, how dare you destroy our culture with your tomahawk. But that, the thing that bothers me is like, do people take the tomahawk seriously? I mean, we're talking about a tool that Indians used 500 years ago. Things made out of stone. It's hardly, something that is part of our ways now. The tomahawk. So they want to make a big deal out of it. Oh yeah, that's part of our culture. Like, yeah, kinda. I mean, not since, we got metal tools. But yeah, so I guess that's what I'm tired of most. Native people defining themselves. It's not even Native people doing this, though. It's the general, popular culture. Defining Indians as something that lived in prehistoric times. It's just like that old, they always call it an arrowhead. Oh, I found Arrowhead Rock or whatever. Like, I don't think that's real. I was thinking about this. What's that? However, when we were little kids, I used to have them. I had my own collection of what I thought were arrowhead tips. You find little rocks that looks like arrowheads. And then you go, wait a second. Have you ever shot an arrow? The last thing you want to do is put a heavy little pebble on the tip. You can't shoot arrows with rocks on the tip. They didn't. I'm calling BS on arrowheads. I don't think the Indians found little rocks, carved them down into sharp things, tied them onto the end of an arrow, and then used that. You don't need it. You just gotta get a pointy end of a arrow stick, an arrow, or tomahawk. So yeah, okay. So the tomahawk, kind of like the ball club, was a war instrument before we had guns. It probably wasn't even used for war, actually. Probably used for chopping down trees. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, tomahawk chop, whatever that is. Wait a hey If you want to be offended by it, okay. You're just not going to be very happy. You're going to be offended by everything. The tomahawk chop, who cares? But the thing I'm going to miss more than anything, let's get rid of. So that's a tomahawk. Oh, tomahawk. From the Algonquin word to cut down, oh, tomahawk. The tomahawk. Get rid of that. Get rid of the Braves. And then we come to the Land O'Lakes girl. I mean, what'd she ever do to anybody? What do you mean? Well, they got rid of her. Yeah, that's right. Now it's exactly the same logo, except there's no Land O'Lakes. Yeah. So the Land O'Lakes girl gets taken off because somebody goes, I'm not sure who complained. For 100 years in Minnesota, nobody said word one about this little Anishinaabe Ikwe. The Land O'Lakes girl. Another unemployed Anishinaabe. Thanks a lot, Land O'Lakes. You just fired one of ours. But, so for 100 years, I guess old Desjardins had something to do with this logo. You ever find it? Or there was a Red Laker who painted this. Or one of the logos, anyway. So you got this, your little knees, a little buckskin dress. Oh, that's a stereotype. Not all Native Americans wore buckskin dresses and had one feather sticking up and headbands. Oh, that's a stereotype. Yeah, okay. So. Okay, I'm going to come clean about something. When I was a little boy, this was one of my first crushes. We didn't have a whole lot of representation in media. And so when I was a little guy, I thought she was really cute. She's got the little beadwork belt and all that. And, the little knees. That's cute. But, no, we had to get rid of her. And it's like one of those things where people are trying to do something for Indians that nobody asked them to. It's like, don't worry, natives. We're going to save you from all this racism you've had to endure. It's like, okay, yeah, but who asked you? There's a loud, vocal minority of the minority community who gets offended by everything. I never met anybody who cared. Even the Fighting Sioux. I met more people who didn't like the term Sioux because they're like, hey man, we're Dakota. We're Metawakatans. We're Metawakitan Dakotas. What's so hard about saying that? And the way people are like, where do I start? We call you Sioux because we can't pronounce the Metawakitan Dakota Yate. All right? Sioux is easier. But, and then you hear stuff like, oh, Sioux means snake in the grass. That's a French word. That's why it's spelled with an X or something. The Sioux. But, and then I heard this guy go, oh yeah, typical. The, corporate America relocates the Indian and keeps the land for themselves. Land O'Lakes. Land oppression. Whoops. See you later, Land O'Lakes lady. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Jessica Gonzalez. The artist actually went back and updated her outfit to be more accurate with the beadwork at some point. Yeah, it looked like pretty accurate beadwork. I guess because representation wasn't good enough. I mean, like, who's she supposed to be? She doesn't necessarily have to be an Ojibwe. She could have been Sioux. She's from Minnesota. That's the other weird thing, you never heard anybody complain about that guy from the Village People. You remember the Indian guy in the Village People? He wore a full buckskin outfit, headdress with feathers and all that. And but I guess that guy was actually from Sisseton, South Dakota. Was he? I might have made that up. Now that I say that, part of me thinks he was actually Puerto Rican. Was the guy from the Village People Indian or Puerto Rican? Part of me wants to say that he was maybe it was a Puerto Rican Indian mix. I think he was enrolled in Sisseton. Something tells me I heard that. But like if you're an actual, Dakota dressing up in traditional wear and then dancing around like a mascot, I think we let it slide. YMCA, it's fun to stay at the YMCA. When Donald Trump came to Bemidji, that was one of the songs he danced to. YMCA. It's like, what? Trump was the gayest president we ever had. Dancing to YMCA, waving the old rainbow flag. I mean, everybody wants to talk about how gay the Obamas are. Well, with Michelle being transgender and Barack being homosexual. That people forget that Trump was actually really pro-gay. I think I saw him at one of those pride parades. You did not. Yeah, man. He was wearing like little buttless chaps. And he had a neon green tank top. It's crazy. Get out of here. Nah, I'm just kidding. Jessica says, they got rid of the Indian but kept the land. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All in the name of, undoing racism. Thank you. I mean, I guess that was, when you think about it, the kind of the point, the irony of the boarding schools was that it was set up to, in a way, for equality. They were going to teach the little Indian kids how to speak English and give them the same advantages as the non-Indians. And so they did that by, assimilation. It's always really funny when you go to one of these, language camps where they refuse to speak anything except Ojibwe. And it never works for more than like an hour. But with immersion, they call it, this is full language immersion. It's like, you mean language assimilation? You're going to have little Indian kids come into your school and not let them speak their native tongue? Kind of reminds me of the boarding schools, if I'm being really honest. No, it's different. We're an immersion camp. You must immerse yourself in the language. Okay. Bemidji's got we're famous. People from around here forget it's not famous for the locals, but it's famous internationally. They have a camp here called the Concordia Language Villages. And there's a college in Moorhead, Minnesota called Concordia. And every summer they have these immersion language camps in Norwegian, French, German. I think they even have a Spanish camp. And it became sort of famous when Hillary Clinton was a kid. She used to come here in the summers and go to this ritzy camp on the north side of Lake Bemidji where the locals never go. And it's where all the rich people have just big old houses and stuff. It's really pretty up there. But it's kind of, nobody from around here can afford to go to send their kids to a language village camp. So rich people from all over the country send their kids, like the Clintons and whatever, to learn a language. But they've had this. Oh, and so you go there, and they have it's like a little village. You go to the Norwegian language village, and it'll be all the buildings will be decorated like buildings in Norway, and you only eat Norwegian food, and everybody on the staff only speaks Norwegian, and they have all the activities. And it's, they try to immerse the kids in as much language as possible. And then they also have, activities like a camp. But they've been doing it for like 20 years, 30 years. Right in the heart of Ojibwe language territory of Minnesota. And they've never been able to get like the Shanabs to start a camp there. The colleges wanted it. But you can't find, either can't find the speakers or the students. I don't know what the problem is. Almost every school around here has an Ojibwe language curriculum. And some of these schools, the kids take Ojibwe every year. But they have a really hard time teaching it. I don't know. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because it's hard, because nobody else speaks it. You can't go home and practice it with your grandpa, unless you're lucky enough that he still remembers. Jessica says, well, the problem with that is that they assumed these kids couldn't be successful and have a good life without learning English and become American. But whose fault was that? It was both our faults. I remember one time Adrian Lewis, a poet from Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation, he goes, honor the elders. They're the ones who got us into trouble in this trouble in the first place. The boarding schools and this idea that you should assimilate into American culture was agreed upon by our elders too. Hollywood wants to make it look like the evil white government came in and imposed these boarding schools on the Indian communities. But it was part of the treaty agreements, along with, land and fishing rights and all this self-governance. Indian people said, we want you to start schools for our kids so they're not second-class citizens. The Indians back in the day wanted their descendants to assimilate into the broader culture. And we did, frankly. I'd like to see where we'd be now if Ojibwe people couldn't speak English. We have a real tough time at Walmart. This is the culture I want to hear. The culture you want to hear. Jessica says, you should do it. You'd be good at running a camp for kids. Yeah, we could do a really fun camp, couldn't we? Well, if we did like a lot of music and art too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we could do language lessons 3 times a day. We could make it kind of like the old Bible camps, where you'd have like prayer class, but then you spend the rest of the day swimming and shooting bows and arrows. But then we could make it kind of like performance art camp. So these kids would have to like sing and draw cartoons to teach Ojibwe. What about puppet shows? Oh, puppet show would be perfect. Yeah, I would love to do that. Hi there. My name is, I can't do it because you'd have to be good at voices and that. I know. But, the kids could make their own puppets and then they could put on their own puppet shows. Oh, and we could film it. Maybe even put it on the show here. Oh, that'd be so much fun. Yeah. If it wasn't for this quarantine lockdown, we got a second camera here. And Michael doesn't know what to do with it because it's hard enough just to orchestrate this live stream. And keep stoking the fire and whatnot. Using the graphics. But, geez, I'd really like to get some guests. And it'd be fun if we had like little kid guests. Kids who could come and make puppets and be on the show. And then to interview them and have the kids, do the language. A few years ago, when we first started this show, some people from Lakeland Public Television contacted Michael. They were going to make a Ojibwe language children's show. And so they called up like 10 different Shanabs from the community to come to the offices there. And there were these 2 young guys, non-Indian guys, who had just graduated from college in like journalism or television broadcast sciences or something. And they got a grant to make this pilot episode. And they said, okay, you guys, we're going to make a pilot episode children's show for the, TV. And it'll have Ojibwe language. But we want to do this right. And we don't speak Ojibwe. So we want to ask you guys your input. And we all got together and we were like, well, number one, you got two guys here from Canada, so they speak a different dialect. You got some Red Lakers and Leech Lakers, and I think that guy over there is Sioux. I don't know why he does invited Indians, but what do you want us to do? And so we met a couple of times to give input. Yeah, okay, so you should use the language. I don't know. And then they said, yeah, okay, and this is going to take us 6 months. We're going to film. We can have a host, and we'll film out at the Booghnagishik school. And they got Tony Troyer's daughter to host it. She was just perfect. Actually, she was great. What's her name? Megan? No, it's whatever her name is. They did one thing really right. They got a great host. But they only did the one episode. And it took them forever. They tried way too hard. It's you don't need our input, you guys. Just make your show. Because number one, I guarantee no matter what you teach, there's going to be somebody who says, you said that wrong. That's not the way I was taught, Everybody who does anything traditionally has to kind of field a certain amount of, that's not the way my elders taught me. And one of the best things that my elder teacher, spiritual teacher taught me was that there are many right ways to do these ceremonies. She goes, when you come to a sweat, or if you do a ceremony, a pipe ceremony or something, somebody may come and say, no, that's not the way you do that, because they were taught differently. And you got to go, well, yeah, okay. But Gitche Manadu speaks many languages. And, I remember the first time I went on a sweat, my brother, he kept on coaching me. He was like, okay, whatever you do, don't walk in between the fire and the pipe. Don't lay your back on the ground inside the sweat. Don't do this or that, Don't point with your finger at an eagle. Just be cool. There's a lot of not just ceremony, but protocol. There's a lot of things you can accidentally do wrong. And so I was just nervous, And I get out there and it's just all these old, really funny AIM guys, like, you're going to become a born-again savage. And where was I going with this? They were Sioux guys. And so they had certain ways that they did their sweats. And it was the hottest sweat I'd ever been in. I've been to some pretty cushy Ojibwe sweats that feel more like a sauna than an actual oven. But when I was with those Sioux guys out in Grand Forks, it wasn't in the city, but we were way out in the country on the edge of this field. There was a shelter belt, way out. We were in the prairie or whatever. It might have been a horse ranch or something. But anyway, they had the sweat way back in the woods there. You need to bring your own wood and all this. And it was actually on Thanksgiving, now that I think about it. But so it already snowed and stuff, and it was really cold. And you build this huge fire, and you wait all day for the fire to burn down. So you have these rocks that are just red hot, you know. And you finally get into that sweat lodge, and you're like, oh, thank goodness. And then they turn up the heat, and you fry. Oh, it was so hot. I remember I just had my face down in the old wet, mildewy carpet samples, trying to breathe. Hikes. Oh, it was a really good sweat. But then years would go by, and I'd find myself in Minnesota, and I was up in one sweat in Inger, and I had like little changing rooms and indoor-outdoor carpeting right around. It was like a permanent structure, building. This guy's sweat. It was really nice. It wasn't even that hot. He's sitting there and singing. So, and they always say, oh, it's not a heat contest, but it kind of is, because you don't want to be the first guy to go, oh, it's too hot, open the door. Chinudin, Wagosh, Boozhoo Chinudin. Treaties were signed by one person for the good of all. Not sure it would have worked today. That's a good point. These treaties were signed by one person. Grieving Turtle's got her turtle here. Boozhoo Grieving, how are you? Jessica says, yeah, for the greater good doesn't represent individuals. I know, but you have to work with groups when it's on that level. You know. It's like the Bill of Rights. I heard this, things that people get wrong about the Bill of Rights. Your rights, the only rights you have is to not be messed with. Is that you can't, rights aren't given to you by the government. You're born with it. Like the right to say whatever you want. Nobody gives you permission for the right of free speech. You just have that right. And people either infringe on your right or they don't. You know, everything else is a privilege. You know, driving a car is not a right; it's a privilege. You're not born with the right to drive. Things you're born with are rights. You know. To live and breathe and speak and, do whatever you want. Although, yesterday I went to the laundromat and didn't wear my mask. And two people came up to me, both the owners. Nobody was in there at first. I was the only guy. Walk in there, and then out of nowhere, this little guy comes up, and he goes, do you want a mask? And I said, no, it's okay. I have a medical exemption. And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, I require air to breathe, and I've exempted myself. And he was cool. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. He just kept walking. And a little while later, the lady comes up, probably his wife, and she's got a little box of, surgical mask. She goes, here's a mask. And I said, no, it's okay. I have a medical exemption. And she goes, oh, really? And she goes, do you have proof? I go, no. And then she said something kind of cryptic, about the police taking your license number or something. And I just pretended that I was, looking off and, distracted by something else, like wanted her to know I wasn't listening to her. And she was kind of cranky about it. And I kept thinking, well, if you really think that there's a disease you might catch from me, you should have not come up so close. Do you really believe there's a contagious disease, but you're safe because you have a little mask on? And that nothing else, as long as you wear a mask and I wear a mask, everything's fine? And how come you're mad? Have you even looked into what the disease is? And the likelihood of you getting it? The likelihood of you dying or even it being a thing? Just take it easy, lady. But it's not about It's not about fighting the flu. It's about obeying the government. You know, there's a whole lot of people say, hey, I'm doing what I'm told. How come you're not? You're putting me at risk. It's like, am I? If you really believe that, how come you're so casual about just walking around Walmart and the laundromat and getting on my face with your rudeness? But I didn't put it on, and she left me alone after that. And then I left the store, and there was a couple of rednecks in a pickup outside. They're like, hey, come here. And one guy was missing teeth. And I walked up to him like, yeah, what's up? He goes, that lady give you a hard time? And I said, not really. She just wanted me to wear a mask. Because, yeah, us too. They kicked us out. I'm like, what? Really? And the guy started talking. He's a truck driver, a logger. Up here in northern Minnesota, there are a lot of guys who, not a lot of guys, but there's a certain type of logger that only hauls huge trees. And it's really dangerous. And you got to, it's a big old truck. You really got to be skilled truck driver. And they go out, down dirt roads, and they have to operate those big cranes. And, and I'm not sure what happened to the guy's teeth. I didn't want to ask him about any drug usage he might be, But otherwise, they were really cool. They were really nice to me. There wasn't any... there was no race issue there. We were kind of bonded as brothers and non-maskers. And I asked the guy, "Oh, you going to get a vaccination?" And he's like, I don't want to say this, heck no. Okay. That's what they want to do. Wisani, hey Boozhoo Wisani, says, best we can do is Ojikri. We must, the Ojibwe Cree, the Ojikri. Yeah, I think the Crees have the same language as, it's all Algonquin, just like our Ojibwe word of the day. The tomahawk chop. Where is it? Oh, tomahawk. Oh, tomahawk. Oh, tomahawk means tomahawk to cut down. I don't know, sweetie. What are you doing? I'm trying to sing a word so we remember. Oh, tomahawk. That's the best way to learn the language is by song. Minabashki minasagani betu sejikani bakwejigan. 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 Blueberry pie. In the Anishinaabe language, the word for blueberry pie is Mina Bashki Minasikani Batusi Chikani Bakwejigan. And this is why the elders insisted their children were to learn English, because their tongues were getting bruised speaking Ojibwe. Like, children, you need to learn how to say blueberry pie. It is much easier. The white man has brought many things. The iron axe for chopping wood, far superior to the otomahawk, our little stone and wood tied together like the arrowhead. Oh yeah, so that was my original point. So once again, the mythology of the Anishinaabe lives on, is compounded, the stereotype of us living in prehistoric times. People who lived in, animal skin homes with stone tools like the tomahawk, the arrowhead, you know. Those things weren't points of pride, you know. It's kind of like the flip phone. Yeah, there's probably still a few people who have their own flip phones. Like, hey man, the old ways are the best. I don't need internet access. All I need is my flip phone and some pictures to look at. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to the flip phone. I don't need a cell phone. But, in the Anishinaabe, when Indian people got advanced technology, we dropped our old ways. Once we got the revolver and the rifle, we quit fighting the Sioux with our tomahawks. And so it's fake outrage. People who pretend that they're mad at things like the Land O'Lakes mascot, the tomahawk chop, the term Redskins. Because even that, they haven't called Indian people Redskins since, like the Columbus days. Or maybe the cowboy days. Redskin is as offensive as Chinaman. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you want to be offended, you can be offended. I'm offended by offended people. I'm tired of people being offended by everything. Wisani, I knew a blade and a tomahawk was her name. You knew a blade and tomahawk was her name. Sounded like you were singing. Oh, Donna, I knew a blade. Oh, tomahawk was her name. Oh, tomahawk. Oh, tomahawk. Yeah, exactly. I think I was trying to sing that song. Oh, tomahawk. Oh, Donna. Yeah, that's why. Good ear, Wisani. Grieving Turtle says, I have a flip phone. Yeah. Wisani, or Grieving Turtle has a flip phone. Still? Yeah. Why not? I mean, that's what they were for. It was so you could have your phone with you in the car in case you broke down. You could call somebody. You didn't need you didn't need a laptop computer in your pocket that takes, better video than, CNN. Somehow I just I got bullied into getting a cell phone that I don't even take out of the house anymore. There was a summer when cell phones, and yeah, I was like 5-6 years after everybody had them, but I got one and I started carrying it around. And then I started getting nervous when I wouldn't have it with me. I would turn around and go back to the house to get my cell phone and then go do the thing because I figured, well, I'm going to want to call that. I'm almost at your house. I don't know. Then eventually I just kind of gave that up. Because I never liked it when people called me. I'd be driving along and oh, geez, someone's calling. Hello? Hello? What? I'm driving. It's bad enough I got a cup of coffee in my hand. Sitting here steering with my knee, trying to shift with one hand, drink a cup of coffee with the other hand. Reach in the back, smack the kids. I don't have any kids. There are some things that, and I wish I was a father just so I could do that. I never got to say this. Hey, you want me to turn this car around? You keep it up, we won't even go to Grandma's. I want to get a green screen of us in a car. With a windshield wiper banging out a tempo. Well, I love a rainy night. Oh, it makes me high. I love a rainy night, and I love you too. I remember when I was a little kid, we go up to Bemidji to get our groceries. I was from a small town 20, 25 miles south of here. And we only had one little grocery store. You couldn't get all your groceries there. So once a week, Mom and Dad would load up the kids in the car, put them in the back of the Impala, or the Jeep or whatever we had. Whatever secondhand car we had. Some big old boat. And my brother Scott would sit in the back seat on the left side, or on the right side. And then my little sister Bridgie would be in the middle because she was little. And then I would always be on the left so I could see myself in the mirror. And then I could talk to Mom because she'd be on the passenger side. And then Dad couldn't reach me because I was right behind him. And, you start fighting in the back there. And, and Bridgie be complaining. He touched me. It's like, yeah, there's 3 of us in one seat. And the seatbelts are shoved so far down there, we'll never get them out. Got 3 kids bouncing around, no seatbelt. And taking a trip to Bemidji, Gamug. To Bemidji to buy our groceries. I'm not even sure where they put the groceries. Probably in the trunk. But you're driving it, and it seemed like it took a long time. When you're a little guy, half-hour drive feels like a 3-hour drive. So you load up, you get ready, and you head out. And I remember coming back, and it would be night, and I would just kind of stare out the window, head against the window. You'd fall asleep on the way back from Bemidji. That's how far it seemed. Your parents would have to wake you up to go in the house. We're here. Wake up. You just came back from, the closest real town from here. And I remember staring up at the stars and just having like a spiritual experience. Going, what is up there? How far away am I seeing those stars? I'm just contemplating everything. It'd be years later before I'd start to look at those stars and go, oh, is that the firmament I'm looking at? In the Anishinaabe way, they say the stars are our ancestors looking at us. And again, that's totally contrary to the NASA definition of what's going on up there. But, because how would a star look at you if it was light years away? In the Bible, there's a point there where God stopped the sun and the moon from moving. And I forget the details. Grieving Turtle, do you know? She says, I almost started crying when I lost it last weekend, but it was recovered the next day. Oh, they're having a conversation I'm not keeping up on. Let me see if I can... I hate to poke around on a Facebook thing because that big end stream button, I just know I'm going to accidentally punch it. Oh, the flip phones. Oh, okay. Grieving Turtle started almost crying when she lost her flip phone. Why? Because you have like pictures on there from, 2005. Chinook Wagosh says, my brother would lay under the back window above the back seat. Yeah, we'd fight over that. Who got to sleep in they had a really nice little carpeted counter by the back window. You could crawl up there and sleep, and then your dad would be like, hey, I can't even see anything. Get out of there. But, not having kids means I never got to threaten to turn around and not go get groceries. But it would be just fun too. Like the greatest day of the year for me as a little guy wasn't Christmas. It was actually my birthday. Because I got to choose a friend, and we'd go up to Bemidji, and we'd go bowling and get pizza. And then, pick up some groceries while we're there. Can't waste a trip to the city. I remember one year I went up there with old Harold Cologne. And Harold and I went bowling. And, I think my parents bowled with us too. And then we went to the fancy pizza place, like Pizza Hut or something. And then we stopped to get groceries. And they had this downstairs area. It was like a grocery store upstairs, and then downstairs is where they sold like greeting cards and toys and comic books. And they don't sell comic books anymore. I mean, there's still a comic book store in Bemidji, but it is the most depressing place you'll ever be. Nobody's ever in there. They don't have any videos or anything. It's just a bunch of old, way overpriced comic books, boxes of old ones. It smells like a used bookstore. In the back there are tables for Magic the Gathering something. And get the impression that people who own the store actually live in the store with their kids. Once in a while, you'll see like a really young kid, the only person in there minding the store. And I'm like, are you the only one here? Yeah. How old are you? 10? So I could just rob you now and there's nothing you can do. Oh, I'm packing a 6-shooter. Oh, okay, kid. In that case, can I buy this copy of Amazing Spider-Man? But yeah, I quit buying comics a number of years ago. They got really dumb. I mean, I know you're supposed to outgrow comic books, but it wasn't until I was in my 40s where I started reading them and going, it's the same thing every time. You know, it starts out with a half-baked story and then ends up with a fight. And then a cliffhanger. And now it's all empowered women. Oh, Iron Man's a girl. That's not why I read Iron Man. See, Grieving Trail says, Gideon might have been involved in the sunstop, but the Earth didn't have to be stopped from spinning thousands of miles per hour. Yeah, except the Earth doesn't spin thousands of miles an hour. The sun and the moon rotate around us. And, yeah. Anyway, a lot of people say the Bible's a flat Earth book. That it has verses that say it's, fixed, immovable, with foundations, and a face of the earth. Where's the face on a ball? Jessica Gonzalez says, well, now they're making comics all politically correct and being inclusive. I know. Now you actually have overweight female superheroes, with like low self-esteems. I'm the bulimic superhero. I can throw up on command. Janudin Wagosh says, heard Marvel has stopped printing paper copies online only. Sad. Oh, is that right? It finally came to that. Well, it's their own fault. They never understood the genre. It wasn't just about the superheroes and the story. It was also the drawings and reading. Comic books are closer to books than to cartoons. I grew up loving comic books because I loved looking at drawings. And yeah, the most fun way to draw the human body is it jumping around, flying, kicking, being smacked, action. So that's why superheroes are so popular in comic books. But it was a reading activity. You got to sit down and you could reread comics over and over just to see the build-up and enjoy the artwork. But then they tried to make comic books compete with movies and with their own animated shows. And the animated shows are really great. They kind of understood the art of the superhero genre. But the comic book itself just became, PC. When I was a little guy, they tried to appeal to, try to make them more PG or rated R. Like Monster Comics, Eerie and Creepy Magazine would have really scantily clad women and gory violence. But they really understood. It seems like when I was a kid, they understood the guys who were reading their stuff. We read Spider-Man comic books because we all related to Peter Parker. You know, Peter Parker wasn't good with girls, and he had insecurities, and he was secretly amazing. He was secretly the amazing Spider-Man. And so a lot of us boys, we dreamed of being secretly amazing, but we read because we identified with Peter Parker. Anyway, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too far with comic books and that. In fact, sweetie, you want to get up here and say hello to the people? Yeah, sure. All right, you guys. Let's play a song. This is a song from a few days ago while we make the transition. How about that, huh? Okay. This is me doing a landslide. Let's see what this... I don't know. What do you think?
How about landslide?
Landslide? Yeah, okay. Took my love and I took it down. Climbed a mountain and I turned around. And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can a child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tide? Can I sail through the season of my mind? Well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I built my life around you, weeding with shame. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. I've been afraid of changing 'cause I lived my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh, I'm getting older too. Take my love, take it down. Climb a mountain, I turn around. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, landslide, bring it down. If you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide will bring it. Landslide will bring it down.
Oh, sweetie, that was beautiful.
Thanks, sweetie Machine. Hey, Boozhoo! Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Boozhoo Nanaboozhoo, a podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Nanaboozhoo, And with me today, the lovely and the talented Natasha.
Boozhoo, everybody! Okay, you can go now. Hey! That was a little awkward, but I think we got there. La 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 la. Do 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 do. Get out of the shot. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Just wanted to stop in. You really rambled on this morning.
I know, huh?
I thought you were just going to talk about tomahawks. Oh, my aching back. My neck. I wrenched my neck. So yeah. Uh-oh. See? Oh, I thought it... Doggone it. If you guys could see what I'm doing on my computer here. Trying to see the... All right, we said E. I mean, triggered Z. Jessica, they made Iceman gay. Oh, no, really? They made Iceman gay, which wouldn't be a problem, except all it does in the comic is talk about being gay. Yeah. I mean, I'm just so tired of it. I'm not interested anymore. You know, why does everyone have to talk about what they're into in the bedroom? It's nobody's business. Thanks. Stevie Nicks always sounded like she was singing underwater. Oh, Grieving Turtle says your version is better than Stevie Nicks.
Oh, me gwetch, Grieving Turtle. I totally disagree.
Yeah, but still, it's nice. Zakiri win. Oh, he loves it. Chinook wagush. Chinudin wagush. What is that? Great wind fire. Or great wind fox. The Chinudin. Great windy fox. Are you a great windy fox, Chinudin wagush? Oh, love that song. That's what... Chinudin, are you a boy or a girl? Or a Z? A triggered Z. Otamahawk. To cut down. So, I don't know. What would I want to say to my lovely friends here today? So yeah, Otamahawk. And, I don't know. I think we said it all. Do you think that's good enough for a show?
Unless you have anything you want to add.
No, I think, let's call it a show. Well, everybody, we just ran out of stuff to say. So we're gonna mahjong. We're going to leave. Want to say miigwech, gana wabi egg. Thank you for watching. Boozhoo Nanaboozhoo, Neeman Wendam, Omanungum. I am Natasha. This is Nanaboozhoo. That is Michael Lyons. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. And have a wonderful day. Miigwech. Gigawabamin. Minowa. Oh, down in the underground.